All right, so we're getting close to pattern launch day. It's just a couple of days away. There's still a lot left to do, however. I know some designers really are ahead of the game when it comes to launching their patterns. I am not one of them. So I am almost always working right up until the last minute. So I still need to do photos. I need to make the next round of corrections from my tech editor to the pattern. I need to get everything set up in Ravelry. I need to draft my newsletter. And I am trying something new this year where with every sweater pattern, I'm going to include a little sweater planner, which is just going to have some additional guidance for picking the right yarn, for picking the right size, and for swatching for each pattern. So I'm still working on putting that together. So even though pattern launch day is very close, there is still lots of work to do. So just finishing the sample and writing the pattern is not all there is to it. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background to actually make the pattern launch work. I do have some preview knitters who are working on the sweater as well. In this case, I got the pattern to them pretty late in the game, later than I was hoping. So most of them will not have finished by the time the pattern launches, but the idea is really more to have some active projects so that when the pattern goes live, there is additional information from knitters available to anybody who might be interested in buying the pattern so that they can see, some other versions in progress or see other people's notes and things like that. I'm hoping for moving forward this year that I will be a bit more ahead of the game with the test and preview knitters, so that that's not always the situation and there actually are maybe some finished projects. I did see one of my preview knitters was already on her sleeves just a couple of days ago, so that one's pretty close to being done. And she actually picked these perfect colors. She's fading together some sort of grays, and that's absolutely perfect because the name of the pattern is Humo Amargo, which means bitter smoke. So she has better colors than I do for her sweater. So today I'm just going to show you a little bit of some of this behind the scenes prep that I need to finish up before this pattern can be launched in about 2 or 3 days. All right, so what I'm working on now is putting together the sweater planner. What I'm using for this is Canva, which is an online I guess kind of graphic design program that I use that really gives you the opportunity to make things look pretty professionally done. I certainly do not have the funds available to actually pay a graphic designer. So why is it bouncing? I'm still really working on figuring out a good way to show you guys my computer screen. It is not easy. But what I have learned is that the reason my video quality wasn't as good as it looked on my phone was that the software I was using to edit my videos wasn't or couldn't process 4K videos. So I've got new software, video editing software. I think will make, or at least I hope, will make a bit of a difference. Let's see if I can get this camera to stop bouncing. There we go. Well, sort of. All right, so I had originally put together this sweater planner for a workshop I was teaching on Diego cardigan last year, and I happened to notice it in my list of projects and thought, oh, I could start doing this for my regular sweater patterns. So in here, where it's just kind of a cloud right now, big photo is going to go in there. As I said, I haven't done the photos yet. And then it just sort of describes what's going to be inside. So yarn, picking your size, swatching, and then a worksheet that's going to help you plan out your project. So I've already filled in a little bit of this information, explaining the yarn that I am using for my sample, and then detailing some of its attributes to help knitters pick the yarn for their projects. I've added some suggested substitutes as well. I want to add a couple more here in a variety of price points. I just need to do some research there. Then the next part is the size. So again, all these empty, that's where photos will go. So the next part is the size, sort of explaining generally how to measure yourself, how much ease you may or may not want, and then some considerations for selecting that ease. So when I do the photos, I'll be modeling myself, I believe, although my sister-in-law is going to be in town this weekend, and I'm considering asking her to do it. We'll see. But probably it's going to end up being me. So my sample is the, I don't know, 38. I've already forgotten. So I'll be showing it with about 4 inches of positive ease. But you know, ease is very personal. So just some guidance on generally how much ease knitters might consider. And then again, a photo goes here, and then information about swatching. I'm going to put a little bit more in here. Swatching and garter stitch, there are some considerations that maybe are not, or that maybe are different than if you're swatching in stockinette. So I'm going to add some more information in here, and then here's the little planning worksheet to help you. And you can see I still have the photo in here from Diego, so I'm going to take that out and put a new photo in. So jotting down all of this information, and then a little space you can, pin or staple your swatch. I've already, like I said, had this set up initially from Diego, and a lot of the information, the basic information is the same. I had to change the yarn information, but a lot of this about ease and size and how to measure stuff, that basically stays the same. And general swatching information doesn't change too much, even with the garter stitch. So having this already set up, I didn't have to put a lot of extra work into it. I think it's sort of a nice addition to the pattern, and we'll see what the response is and whether I'm going to move forward with using this for all of my sweater patterns this year. We'll see. The next bit of work I need to do is to update my pattern draft with the second round of edits from my tech editor. So I've already done 1 round of editing, and now I'm going to be doing another one. The first thing I'm going to do is to replace this. Because this sweater has a unique construction, I've created a diagram to demonstrate how things are knit, but I've made some adjustments to this, so I'm going to update that. And I'm not 100% sure this is where I want to leave it in the pattern. I may put it with the regular schematic later, but I'm not sure because maybe people want to understand right away where or how the construction works. So there we go. Okay, so I'm still considering that. So as you can see, I've updated it a little bit with more details showing where the seaming is going to take place, a better representation of how the shoulders are shaped, indicated where the armholes are going. So this is just for the body of the sweater, obviously not the sleeves. Trying to draw the sleeves in, I think, would just get confusing. So I don't know if this will be useful, but since it is a rather unique construction for the sweater, I do think it is worth including. All right, so now I need to look at the edits that my wonderful tech editor, Sarah, has sent me. So everything that's in pink, those are her edits, and that's where I'm gonna go in and fix things. Apparently we're taking a break from work. Can you do some boops? How many boops do you want? Gazango boops. Okay. Gurm, threep, forg, fly, snurb, slevin. Turn your face. I can't boop your nose. Wango, tango, gazango. Stinker. And now what? Boop, 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 boop. Are we doing work or are we doing boops? We're doing boops. Okay, gonna take a break. Okay, back to work. Home stretch of getting ready to launch the Humo Amargo cardigan pattern. I will likely be posting the last 2, maybe even 3 vlogs after it has been published. I'm hoping maybe some people will see the pattern, buy the pattern, and then think, hey, I'm going to check out those vlogs and see how this pattern actually came together. So I guess we'll see. So I have done the last very big thing, which is to take the photos. I still have to edit the photos. So what I use for photo editing is Lightroom, and I pay a monthly subscription fee to use Lightroom. So that's just one of those overhead expenses that are involved in pattern design, at least for me. I don't know of any independent designers that are able to use, professional photographers. Professional photographers rightly charge fairly high rates. And the only way I can see that it would maybe work out is if you had a whole bunch of samples to take photos of at one time. And then you might make up the cost, but I never have that. So I do my own photos. I usually model patterns myself, model samples myself, mostly because that's what's most convenient. Sometimes I'll have my sister model for me, but of course she has a regular full-time job. She's not always available, and I often have to do my photography sort of on a whim when I happen to have the time. So today, for example, the sample is done. I wanted to take the pattern photos inside because it's sort of a cozy, homey kind of design, and I thought that would be the right setting for it. My husband and his brother and my sister-in-law and the kids went downtown today because my children like to ride the subway for no reason. So I had some peace and quiet to get that done. And so I've imported all of my photos into Lightroom. So what I usually do is take 100, somewhere between 100 and 200 photos. Let's see how many photos I took this time. Yeah, okay, so I took 105 photos this time. I sort through them and pick out the best ones, and I guess I did delete some that, you know, were blurry or whatever, so probably took a little bit more. So I sort through them, pick out the best ones, and then I go ahead and edit the best ones. Maybe not all of them if, you know, after taking a look at them again, I realized that maybe they weren't that great. What I try to end up with is a good 8 to 10 photos that are going to show off the pattern. All of those will not appear in the pattern itself. In the pattern itself, I usually include 3 photos, just because once you've bought the pattern, you've already seen all the photos. You don't need them all in the pattern. So I try not to include too many in the pattern itself, but most of them will end up on Instagram, in the newsletter, on my website, and things like that. So I'm gonna get started doing some editing. Now this one is a little tricky because the color, of course, is very dark. It's nightshades. And so editing it so that you can really see the color gradation, that might be tricky. So we'll see how it goes. So a way that pattern designers sort of cut down on their costs is to do a lot of things on their own, which means there's a lot of learning that goes into these things: pattern layout, photography, photo editing, advertising, marketing, and all of that. It's a lot of self-taught stuff that pattern designers do on their own, because to hire people to do it would be prohibitively expensive, and you wouldn't recoup the cost with pattern sales, most likely. And from there, it is all marketing. So advertising, newsletters, promotion, things like that, because if nobody buys the pattern, then it's all for naught.